All right, we will call this meeting to order. Actually, do we have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and dueling seconds. Who wants to have that second? Gotta be Paul. Paul.
Thank
Paul got that one. We got a motion and second to return to open session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right. I was obviously not here at the last meeting. I apologize. I think I think all the business was pretty much handled, right, with the exception of the jail discussion. Mark, if you want to go ahead, and if you could just brief everybody what you had mentioned to me earlier.
Yeah. So I'm the next person up, I guess. We have a Tim and some of the management that's meeting with Representative Vice today on another issue, so they can't be here. Currently, our CFO and the business manager are putting together the estimate of needs and the budget that they're trying to get done by Friday. So they asked me to come over here. Now, what I can do, I don't know about a lot of the other deep dive into the finances going on, but we did have prepared this today for Mr. Holman just to talk about some of the cost savings they've been doing. We had talked about it in some of the meetings, and we can estimate that we're having a total savings of renegotiating some contracts, vendor contracts that we're still in the process. We're just getting close to about 750 to 900,000 to be able to save. We're talking in the heritage, the medical billing. One of the things that we talked and renegotiated their contract is to cut the price that we pay for each bill that they negotiate down by more than half. So the estimates there are approximately 65,000 in annual savings. I don't know how much that's going to be for the rest of the year, but it's $7,000 or $8,000 a month, I think it is. Or usually their bill will be about $7,000 or $8,000 a month, so we can cut that down to about $3,500 to $4,000.
Mark, can I clarify?
Sure.
That's for the service of
That's for the services they review. How much we pay per bill to review.
Is that I'm just curious, is that a flat fee on those, or is that they charge you a percentage based upon the savings?
No, per bill. They just do it per bill.
Okay.
So whatever bill it is, they charge us a flat fee for that bill, and then you go on the next one. So if it's a $10 bill, they'll charge us the same price as if it's $100,000. So they just negotiate the bill to whatever they can get down, and then charge us a flat fee for each bill that they negotiate for us.
Okay.
Is that what the total medical
No.
cancellation? Okay, so
Yeah, that's
cancellation that one. Okay.
yeah, that's the nursing staff.
Okay.
VH site checks, we were able to about a month ago lower the price, the hourly rate that we give them, cut that by $6 to $8 per hour, depending on what shift it is. It used to be a flat rate, so we have a different rate for overnight shifts and afternoon shifts. And if we happen to get rid of that for the rest of the year, that'll save about $500,000 for the rest of the year going forward. And that's something we're looking into right now as well.
The cutting, I just had a quick question. Cutting that per hour, is it also cutting the amount of resources?
No, it's just the pay that we pay the company per hour.
Mhm.
They get I'm assuming what it is they get a set hourly rate by the agency that they work for. And what we did is we lowered the cost. So those people, whether they still get paid the same hour or not, they're still there. So we
But
still have the same.
okay, so we are not reducing those resources at all.
No, we're not reducing those resources.
Okay.
It's just the amount of money that we pay per contract.
Can I ask a question real quick, Mark?
Yeah.
So yesterday, Mr. Kimray talked about some cost savings measures at the trust meeting. One of those was to recommend 30-day notice to VHS contracts.
Yes.
So would that be in addition to this 500,000?
No.
That would be a higher figure, or is that if you eliminate the VHS?
If we eliminated it, it'd be about 500,000.
Okay.
Well, is it an if? I thought yesterday.
I mean, I can't speak if that's exactly what they're going to do. I'll have to meet with them. But I think that's absolutely on the table.
Well, and that was one of my questions from sitting in there yesterday. I heard it that we are doing the 30-day notice. That's the words that I heard. My question, though, about that was when they were talking about a reduction in savings and it being a 30-day notice. my recollection was that they were going to be providing staff based upon your needs. So you may need 10, you may need 20, and then you just, because he had said before that as you guys ramped up, got more employees, you'd be able to drop those.
Yes.
So even though the contract may require a 30-day notice to quit the contract, you could still request 0 or 1 people during that 30-day period, correct?
I mean,
So-
I'm assuming that's entirely about, that's not my knowledge, but if that's what he talked about during the meeting
Well,
yesterday.
he didn't mention the number, dropping I guess what my line of questioning goes to is when he had mentioned, or not he, when it was mentioned in the meeting that you guys were going to exercise your right to cancel that contract and give 30-day notice. My question in my mind when I heard that was, okay, is that expense going to be ending now then because you're going to reduce the number of folks that you're going to be calling in over the next 30 days while the contract is still waiting to be officially canceled because of the 30-day notice? Or are you going to continue paying those resources that you've been paying for those 30 days because that's another month's worth of savings? I was curious on where you were.
That would be something I'd
Does that
have
make
to ask.
sense?
Yeah, no, it does, and I'd have to ask the CFO about how the contract stipulates. Because sometimes, in the contract, there might be here's a minimum that you have to pay. You have to do 10 a month or something on those lines. Sometimes they put it in there, but I don't know the contract, so I'll have to ask them. But that would be more savings if that's something possible we could do.
Okay, but you're saying you don't know for sure
I
what I heard was correct, that you are actually canceling that contract?
I heard that. I haven't talked to him since the meeting, other than just a briefing yesterday and this morning in the hallway. So if that's something he said he's going to do, I was told that that's on the table. So that's probably what he's going to do, but I don't know that for sure. But it would be a significant savings, so it's more than likely it's probably something that
So if that contract was cut, you're stating that would save roughly $500,000.
about $500,000.
Is that $500,000 part of the total savings of $750 to $900 that you mentioned earlier?
I would. So what I would know that I'd have to take a look at how much savings we have so far, but that's $500,000 that we would probably add to it. Because I don't know what the number was before they said they were going
And is that
to
from
cancel.
now through the end of
Didn't
the
now
FY?
to the end of the FY. Also, the Benchmark Food Service. One of the things we're doing with them is there was a thing that started about 2 years ago where they were employees' lunch. That's about $4,000 a week. So that's being canceled. So that'll be about another $90,000 for the rest of the year to get rid of that.
That's for what? I'm sorry.
Employee meals.
Employee meals. Of course, the district attorney's contract was canceled. Now, of course, we hired attorneys too, so that might be a push. But that would be approximately $91,000 less to pay over there. We canceled an eCisco contract, which does the works with the sliders and such, and so that's $32,000 for the remaining fiscal year. We eliminated a psychiatrist position, someone that was working as a psychologist or psychiatrist, another $22,000 for that. Of course, you heard during the meeting, we're immediately starting e-cigarette vaping sales for the inmates. We went and talked with Tulsa. Their revenue was, I think, gross was about $1 million for last year, what they told us.
Do you know what their net is?
I think it was about 720, 730, something on those lines.
So maybe 50 grand, 55, 60 grand, 60 grand a month,
I
maybe?
think so, maybe.
When you say immediately,
I mean,
Like
as
by
soon as we can
April
get it
1st?
on. Yeah, as soon as we can get it on.
so maybe 3 months of that.
And then does the revenue come in from that each month?
I believe so. Yeah, it comes in each month. And that's really all the numbers I have right now. Now, I know they are meeting with other contracts. I don't know which ones they are, but they're trying to find whatever new savings we can do, whatever areas we can find.
Do you know, Mark, they've been talking about, basically, they have already identified about $500,000 in savings to get that purported $5.8 million figure down to about $5.3 million. So are these in addition to that 500,000 that was previously shared?
That, not to my knowledge that I know of. I mean, that's not something, I haven't been in those meetings. These are ones that I've known that we got together this morning and I identified and asked them because I was in meetings when I knew that we had renegotiated contracts. So as far as if this is new savings or part of those savings, I'm not positive. I can get that answer.
Can I ask you one quick on
Sure.
it's right after you mentioned DA and before site, what was the 32,000? And that's on me, I just missed it.
It's for a company called eCisco. They work with electronics and such.
Can you speak to any personnel issues?
As far as,
Oh, we received this at the last meeting. Were you here at the last meeting?
I wasn't here.
We received this at the last meeting. Maybe you want to take a look at it. And each of these positions are by position code. So one, I wanted to make sure that it appears as if each position code is a single FTE. Okay. Or I need to know, is there more than one FTE in a given position code? Because it appears, this is from January, it's the latest one we got. And if I looked at the total FTEs, this is just for medical, okay? There were 59 listed on this sheet by position code. Does that sound about right? You have 59 FTEs filled?
I think so because the last meeting was out, I think we had 50 medical, which is basically the LPNs, the nurses.
Mhm.
And we have a number of people that are, like we have a dentist, dental assistant. We have the health service administrator and then the head nurse. There's another 4.
Okay.
And so I think we have nobody, well, she would be full time, but that's about right.
So if if each of these is a separate FTE, okay, I'm curious as to why you would be paying month after month after month an ARPN $64,000 a month. I don't know any APRN that makes $700,000 a year.
$64,000 a month.
Where are you seeing that?
Where are you seeing that?
Top of each thing. The second APRN number 1.
So we don't know if that's for one or not.
That's why there's
Mine's
59
saying
of these listed,
22,000.
so it sounds as if each one is a separate FTE.
Makes you a little bit.
Yeah, mine's showing
January.
22.
But I can go back month after month after month. 64,000, 64,000, 64,000.
So that's something I'll definitely look into because I know the doctor would be the highest paid, which is up top. But APR 122,000.
Plus just on that first one. Every other month after that, it's 64,000.
Yeah, I'll find out. Let me ask.
And Mark, well, you mentioned the doctor. Is that a full-time position, a part-time
That's a
position?
full-time position.
Because if you look on this, so it's medical doctor, 713475 on the 103124 check. And then you jump over to the 1127 check, it's 22,083.34. So, and we have a dentist that's making pretty good. My assumption would be they're full-time also.
I believe the dentist is.
And neither of those individuals are also in private practice. Where they're full-time gig.
So I know the doctor.
I would
That's his
assume-
full-time gig.
I would assume by the pay that the dentist would be as well.
Can we confirm?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I can confirm both of those.
And did you say, a minute ago when you were mentioning positions, did you mention the health service administrator? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys have an HSA?
Yeah, that's
Because I thought,
Sarah, the one who spoke yesterday.
okay, because I thought it was eliminated. That was what Mr. Kimmery.
No, she was already there. She was the assistant. And so when Donna left, they just made her the HSA. They didn't replace that position. I mean, they replaced it with her. He was already on staff.
Well, it says during FY '26, the following administrative positions, not an employee positions were eliminated and not replaced. Health service administrator is one of those.
So,
And I,
yeah, that could be, I mean,
let me be clear. I'm not saying whether you need an HSA or not. That's not for me to determine. I'm just asking because I thought you had mentioned that position, and then when we got the responses from Mr. Kimray, he had said that there wasn't that position. So I heard that there is the position. And
so I was the one who put that together for him. So that's probably on me, because what I meant was when she left, we didn't hire anybody for that spot as far as outside and have to pay them her salary. We already had the person there, so they just took over the responsibility. So Sarah worked for her, and so she just took over, and we just said, well, then you're the HSA now.
so the position didn't get
The
eliminated.
position didn't get eliminated, but we didn't hire anybody new after she left.
Okay. That, you see where my,
No, I get that. But yeah, we didn't hire anybody new after she left. We just gave it somebody else.
So essentially, that person received an increase or
I don't think she received an increase at all.
so she was making the same as what?
I think she may have or less.
Can I ask you a couple of questions about the presentation yesterday, just about some of the things that are on there you just happen to know? Stipends canceled, any idea of the savings there?
No, but that's so, and that's a month by month thing. So what happens is we offer stipends for working overtime and such. And so what would I have to do is I could get like a total for the month before.
Okay. Travel, conferences, registration fees.
Yeah, all that, and that's not a lot because we really don't go to those too much.
Okay.
Maybe once a year. We do have some investigators that will go to the investigators conferences, and then so all of those have been canceled too as well.
There were some things talked about inmate food delivery, hot, cold versus cold, hot,
Yes.
operational efficiency, taking their calories up, but still there's probably not a cost savings necessarily with that you can directly attribute.
No, I think it's more of an efficiency.
Sure. Uniforms, detention officer equipment, probably pretty minor.
I think so. Yeah, we have also switched. I don't know if they put that on there. We have switched from one vendor to the the corrections vendor. Try to save money that way too as well.
Okay. 30-day notice to terminate total medical contract. Any idea of the savings there?
So that, I think that would be significant too. And I want to say, and I'd have to take a look at my first thought, but I don't know this for sure, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but those first lines might be for the total medical costs. Because that's, I can get a number on that, but I know that's a significant amount of money. Because we're paying for about 10 positions, I think, 9 to 10 positions.
$250,000 this year.
I'd have to look, because I don't know what numbers.
Asset liquidation.
I wouldn't know how much it was, but there's a lot of things we're looking at. We've got a lot of stuff that, we've got a lot of carts back that were over here, I guess. There's I forget what they were. Something that IT was using that was ours, the video conferencing and stuff like that. We've got a lot of those carts in. There's 20 or 30, maybe more. So we're going to put those on to try to get rid of those too as well. There's some stuff that's in the basement, some electronic equipment and such that we're going to try to see if other agencies want. So those will be on the market too as well.
Mark, I had a question regarding this spreadsheet that we previously received, and it basically outlines all the revenues and expenses month by month. And you may not be able to answer my question, but I'm just having a hard time reconciling. So we've heard in the past, and perhaps it may have changed, but we've heard Tim say repeatedly that essentially you're going to run out of money May 1st. Correct?
That's what you've been saying, yes.
Okay, so May 1st. Okay, so I think, and maybe I'm just looking at it too simplistic here. So I'm like, I look over here and I go, okay, let me see your total revenues and your total expenses projected for May and June. Because essentially that's what you'll be short if you run out of money May 1st. And so I'm looking at your net income or loss for both of those months, and I add those together, and it comes to 3.921 million. So do you, in reference to that, know where the $5.3 million amount came from? If those essentially are your costs of doing business for May and for June, per the spreadsheet that had been provided, that only adds up to 3.921 million.
I think you have to add, so at the very top,
Mm-hmm.
which, the 2.4
Mm-hmm.
is in that. And we've already given them that, so really they won't get their
In front of
112
them.
for 2 months.
Okay,
So once you put that in with your 3 million, that's kind of back up to their
5.3.
original.
Okay. Right. Okay. And also, I noticed that takes into an account $250,000 payment in 4-month increments from the contract from the city of Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Have you started to receive money on that?
I don't think we've received it, but they've accepted it and we've sent over our billing. And
Okay.
we have to send it by the 15th of each month.
Okay.
So we've already sent that one over to them. So hopefully we'll be getting the payment. If we haven't already. Probably haven't, but we should.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it come through, I looked.
Have we gotten the previous month's payments?
It'll be the whole payment.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll, because we sent them from last July.
Off the top of your head, Mark, do you know this year's contract, the amount we're going to receive compared to last year's
So
increase, deduction?
I do not, because over the years, what they used to do was just do the flat. In the last one, 1.2, the year before that, 750 and 500. This year, it is a rate based on one day and the next day. So I'm not positive what that is. I can get that number probably, I'm sure, because we sent them over. We've sent them over the bill.
Now, we got a huge payment from that. This would be last fiscal year, so May of 2025, 1.8. That may have been, did they pay 2 years?
They paid 2 years in advance. So we got 750 for the year that they
Okay.
didn't pay. And then they agreed on 1.2 or something on that for the last fiscal year. And this one, of course, is a flat rate.
The 750 was an extremely discounted rate. So, and I appreciate you being here and trying to answer our questions. I recognize you're not the finance guy. I have some questions. Again, back to the spreadsheet you all provided in the expense column for workers' comp. There is a 3-month period where there were 0 payments for workers' comp, and then in April, there's a $350,000 payment. And then May and June, back to 105, which is kind of in line with the previous expenses. Do you know why there were no payments in those 3 months, or appeared to be no payments?
I do not.
What
And
months
that
were
is something I do.
Workers'
It was,
January, February, March.
Yeah, and if memory serves, the FTE, the employee salaries was below budget because you guys haven't even been up at the 320. So it was in the black, but the workers' comp was in the red. Like it was more expensive than what was anticipated. Is that still the same on that sheet? Because I may be dealing with dated information, but that was my recollection, and I was a little confused when I saw that on a previous document because generally workers' comp is directly associated with the number of employees, the pay, right? So if you're down in payments out, I didn't understand, the workers' comp would be in the red. But like Joe said, I know this is completely outside of your wheelhouse, answering this type of stuff. So I really appreciate you being here and doing the best that you can. to answer some of these
Well,
questions.
I'll
And,
try
and
whatever I
I,
can.
well, and some of my more in the weeds questions, I'm not going to throw out at you because I don't expect you to be able to sit there and answer some of this stuff. And I don't want to put you on the spot when you've taken time out of your day to be here and try to get some answers. I'm interpreting it that you're trying to get us some answers to the kind of the bigger global stuff and maybe not some of the finer detail that make up the bigger piece.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff, I went to communication schools.
Yeah.
I stayed out of the math department.
You have any idea whether there was any attempt to seek reimbursement through the different avenues that are available to you for the cost of outside medical when it comes to pre-existing conditions?
I don't. I've heard the conversations about the pre-existing and what people have to pay for and what they don't, and that's in the lawyer's head for me. Yeah, I couldn't even attempt to answer that. I wouldn't even know where to go.
Well, and I've asked Mr. Kimray a few times in these meetings, and I've not received the information, and maybe somehow it came through my email and I just missed it, and maybe you guys have gotten it. But I've been looking for the number that you guys have spent and anticipate spending on medical, providing it in-house versus that way we can compare it to what the cost was when we had a contract, because we had been told we're trying to figure out why we're behind, right? And either it's an extreme increase in bills this year versus previous years, or there's something else afoot. And that's kind of what we're trying to get at. And that's one of the big pieces that I'm wondering if that's not the reason. But we were told that it was going to be cheaper to run it in-house. So on one hand, we have to think that that isn't the cause of the shortfall, that it's not related to increased medical expenses, because we've been told that it was going to be cheaper to run it in-house. But to me, it seems like that's probably the most likely culprit for an increase in expenses, if there is any. And so I'm just curious if you know if that's still if that's in the works on getting that information.
I'm sure it is, yeah. I know that Sarah has been going through to try to estimate how much it has cost them so far this year. I think she has, I don't know if she had put that on the last presentation or not, but I know that what she's working on. What she had told us before is that by doing a lot of things that she's done since she took over, that her cost savings for the year, now whatever the total is, I don't know, but as far as up there in the medical, she says her cost savings have been about 590 to 610,000 over what they did before, as far as just the daily operations. And that has to do with using a handheld X-ray, believe it or not. I don't know how many, but to me that I was told that it saves thousands of dollars per X-ray or something on those lines is what they're talking about. And so they made adjustments to the medical pass procedure. We had an inhaler that you had to use one time. Like I said, I don't know the cost of it. When you give it, you can only use it one time. But there is a medical piece that you can buy that costs hardly anything. It just slips over it, so you can reuse that inhaler for how many over time. And I was told that saves. The inhaler is $20. You're only before you'd only use it once. Now you can use it for however many the life of the inhaler is. So there was a significant saving this year. But I know she's working on things.
I appreciate you bringing these items to our attention so that we can see them, but it also draws a concern for me that maybe seeing some of these, why maybe they weren't done earlier than what we're being done right now. It was, I believe, in July when we were told that there was some financial issues in regards to budget, but yet some of the services still continue only until it's been 9, 10 months, that we could have been utilizing these savings on some of these items, but they're not done until now. So there's some concern on my part.
And I can't answer that, so I understand the question.
Different administrator. I can answer that.
Take over.
Martin. Yeah, October. Different administrator. You got administrators also operating.
Well, but he's also been in here and said that he's gonna look at some stuff, but it's still gonna be that much or more for next fiscal year, so.
Mark, do you happen to remember when Turnkey terminated the contract?
Yeah.
When was that?
So that was 2024,
October?
about October.
I remember it being in October. I couldn't remember when.
We approved the contract. Trust approved the contract, and the next day, Turnkey came.
Mhm.
So then we had 30 days to put together a medical.
Yeah, I remember that. Gosh.
I believe their contract was somewhere in terms of 7, 8 million or something like that.
Seven.
And so that's really what I'm wanting to see, because we've had a year of, or more, of expenditures of running medical in-house. So to me, it's just a matter of categorizing all the expenses that have been paid in the year, maybe not a fiscal year, but a 12-month period for those expenses. And I mean, then it's an easy analysis. You just compare that to what that contract would have been, it was at the time.
And I think they're trying to get that because, again, when the HSA was terminated, and you brought in this new person, they're trying to go through and figure out what did she figure out for part of the year, or from when she took over, and what the new administrator is trying to. She's just trying to put all those numbers together to try to figure out exactly where all this fits in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she's been doing. I think she does have a number. I'm not positive what it is.
You mentioned the psychiatrist, that position was eliminated but like yesterday in Sarah's, she said that they were looking for, a full-time.
They're trying to find a partnership somewhere with someone.
So would that be a new position that you're gonna bring in as a full new
No,
FTE,
from what I understand, they
or-
wouldn't be full time. This is something like we do with like the OBGYN, where they would come to the facility and work a few hours a week, and then they're on call during the week if you need call.
So is that done by contract?
I think it is done by contract.
Similar to the way we did, I think the sheriff's office was doing it for a while, maybe the trust in the beginning too, for psychiatric care, the partnership with OU.
Yeah,
Similar back to
it's
what was
similar to what.
happening.
Yeah. Then you always have someone at least you can call or get on an iPad or something if you need to.
And on like the dental that she's referring to, is that part of your medical full-time
I believe he
employees?
is. Yes. Right.
They're
I
part of
think
that
he's
number.
the dentist is a full time.
And you're gonna verify whether he's also in private practice.
Yeah. I mean, I know that he at least used to, because that's
Right.
everybody's dentist, sheriff's office.
Right.
So, but last time I went there, it was pretty good. So I don't know if he's full time. Or I mean, doing his own practice. Okay.
Well, I'll say, I just want to be clear, and everybody else speak up if you have a different opinion than me on this. But I don't think it's never been my intent, and I don't think it's ever been anybody's intent from this table to tell the jail, the trust, whatever, who to have, what services to provide, what services not to provide. That is not within our wheelhouse. And it was said, and maybe I misheard, but I thought it was said yesterday in the trust meeting that the process would be that you guys do an estimate of needs and a budget and bring it over here to BET, and BET approves it, or we kick stuff out, and if we kick stuff out, it goes back over to them for them to approve. That is not what this process is. That was either I misheard or it was a complete misspeak by the individual that said it. That's not how this process works. You guys come up with your budget, your estimate of needs, what you need to do to run the facility. Then you come over here and say, hey, Oklahoma County is one of the funding sources for us to be able to meet the needs of our organization. And we look at it and we determine what we can do out of our coffers, and then you guys would go and find other sources to be able to fill those gaps to meet the needs that you have. We're not, in my opinion, we're not here telling you what needs to be in your estimate of needs, what has to be cut out. None of that. It's a matter of what we can fund and what we can't fund. Is that a fair statement? Does anybody disagree with that? So I just want everybody to be clear that this is not a group, and the budget board isn't a group that is trying to tell you guys how to do your business, what you can have, what you can't have. It's just a matter of us being able to look and see. And now we're kind of scrambling here to try to figure out what we can do. So of course we ask questions so that we understand where we are, how we got here, so that we can know where we're at, and then also help prevent us from getting in the situation in the future. So it may seem like the pointy questions and the deep dives are us saying, well, you shouldn't have this or you shouldn't have that. That's not it at all. It's just a matter of whether we can fund it.
We only have a finite amount of resources.
Absolutely.
To provide.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of us not wanting to help or anything. It's just it's a matter of us figuring out a way that we can help at the maximum ability that we can, because we're in a different situation than you guys are. You guys are not bound by fiscal year limitations on spending. You guys can go out and get a loan to pay for $5 million that you may or may not be short, right? We can't do that. We have to balance our budget. We have to stay within that balance throughout the fiscal year. We don't have the flexibility, and that's part of the reason developing the trust was because of that flexibility that they would have in an organization structured like that versus what the county has. So when we've got everything budgeted out, we have to stay within those confines. You guys don't have to do that, and that's great as far as the flexibility for you guys, but we're not in that same position. If that makes sense.
I think what Cody says is exactly right. And you guys can spend however you want and do whatever. You overspend, of course, you can always come back at the end of the year and ask if we have any more to give, but the answer should be no. Then that's on you.
Mark, did Tim happen to share, I know you said you kind of briefly met him in the hallway, did he happen to share what the shortage is now? I thought I heard him say 4.3
I did.
in the meeting.
Yeah, I heard that.
4.3.
Yeah, I heard that with all the savings.
With all these savings,
And it was,
that it's 1.5, they'd saved 1.5, so I was taking that off the 5.8.
Right.
So I'm thinking now 4.3. But I just didn't know if he shared the.
Right.
We've identified about 1.15 in here, the things that you were able to articulate, which takes it down to 4.15, and that's without the total medical contract savings. So that would be my request. Can you guys go back and refigure?
Yeah.
Based on all the savings that you've organized at this point, what your actual shortfall would be?
You got 2 months you can update on actual to January and February.
And I had sent some questions to them based upon some conversations that we've had in here about things to, the clarifications on, what dollars are available, what aren't available, different areas. And, whether it was conversations around this table or other people, asking me questions and stuff, I had gathered those up and sent those over last week. So I'm anticipating maybe some responses, but some of those are in line with this. I think Cassie, I sent Cassie the question. So if anybody wants, wants those, you can get those from Cassie. I didn't want to send it out to everybody and then somebody respond, in the group, and then it's an open meetings thing. So I didn't want to do that. So I usually, unless it's like something about getting a meeting together, I'll usually just send that over to Cassie and Christy. I'll send stuff to Christy as well.
She
You
distributed
did
that.
you did distribute it to everybody.
Receive, BT to receive this record.
You already have it, I have it, it's going on the record.
Okay, then
Sounds good.
I'd like that. they be-
Okay, well, you have it printed out, so the chair will ask the clerk to make it a part of the record without objection.
And that part of the record is that they're included in the minutes of this meeting. Similarly to what we had done with some questions I had previously set. Mark, you got a lot to go back and check on, but I want to go back and touch on medical, and I think you said you would. We're paying Heritage to review bills, is the way I understand it, right? Based on our review. And last time I asked, and the answer was whether or not we're receiving the OC give rate that's outlined in state statute. Can you check on that? Because even though we may have been receiving discounts, potentially they could be less than what OC give rate is, but it might not be that we're receiving the full extent of those discounts. And outside medical is a huge driver here, it appears. My other question relates to the process. It's permissible on the commissary fund for inmates to pay a sick fee. Are you all charging those?
I think there is a $15 fee
Okay.
for the medical.
And then
I think there is another fee for that.
so we're paying outside medical, even on pre-existings. And then there is some statutory language that allows the county or the sheriff to recoup the cost of that by pursuing the individual who received the care. Are you doing that? And I think that involves a court process. Will you check on that as well? I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think I read something like it's basically brought to the courts, and then it says the court shall do certain things relative to those costs. Okay. And then employee counts, they're kind of all over the place. Yesterday it was mentioned, I think the number was 340, inclusive of 51 on the medical side. February paycheck was 379 individuals. The month before that was right around that same number. I can go back and look and see total number of people paid. Can you get a better handle on where your staffing is?
Yeah, now I do know that we have hired, we're gearing up for the academy that starts in April. So when we hire someone for the academy, we hire them that day. We don't say, show up in April at the academy, because when we do that, they're not there. What we do is we try to hire them and get them and doing something.
They're doing something in the facility, so they're receiving.
So we've gotten 15, 16, 17 to 20 people that we've hired that will be cadets in the last number of a couple of weeks. So that number will go up. And then, of course, as we all know, during academies, the number will go down again.
Right.
But that may be one reason why it does that.
But the year total staffing, and I'm going off the top of my head, so it's remained fairly stable in that 360, 370, 380 range. You know, it's not big swings down, and so that's fairly keeping in line within the total number of FTEs in the FTE space. That number. So. It was also, I think, mentioned I'm not trying to be confrontational, but it was mentioned yesterday, Pastor Scully was asking a series of questions and there was this, when did you know you would be X dollars short? Right? I think from my perspective, it kind of dawned on me at that as I continually look at this thing. The same could be said of the administration and the trust itself. If you were projecting this, why is it now, what month are we in? March? March that we're really looking to see ways that we can save money. You're asking us to step up and help you. You is not Mark. You is the collective. Fill and help with a problem that is truly not of our own making. Right. It was stated quite publicly yesterday by Commissioner Davidson, one of the acts that he took, that the trust is now going to formally adopt a budget. Clearly, they've never done that. And so the decision to spend whatever above your known revenues at the start of the year, I don't know who made that decision, but clearly it appears that the trust is just now beginning to take this seriously and look for ways when to cut money when perhaps it could have been done all year long. Maybe not, I don't know, but I just thought that statement was rather striking. Yeah, we're just now. I get it, there's new leadership over there, but that leadership's been in place beyond this month. So it's kind of frustrating.
Did you look at something, because Cassie asked a really good question before the meeting, about whether it's on the agenda or not. I'd like to present some information under this item, but maybe you need to look at it before I start doing that to see if it would fit. It's basically some tables, some graphs that show in real ways the spending problem. And then I've got a few things that I would like to say as far as trying to move forward to kind of get beyond where we are now.
Well, I think,
But this is kind of an update from the detention center, and so
well,
I want to make sure it fits.
I mean, I think it would probably be more likely fitting under item 4, discussion possible action regarding any items currently on the BET watch list. Okay. The trust's 5 point, I think it was adjusted to the 5 million is okay. On the watch list. So I think as it relates to discussions related to funding that, not funding it at a reduced level, full at whatever. Right. I think that's a pretty broad category to be able to have those discussions. I would, rely on our counsel to, correct me otherwise, but based on what you told me there, I think it would fit under the update related to, or discussions related to an item on the watch list. Okay. Okay. So, is this something that you're going to want Mark to stay up there to?
He doesn't have to stay up there necessarily. I'd love for him to be in the room because I was hoping, but you've covered a lot of my questions with what you presented on the savings, and so obviously you can go back and watch the meeting at any point that you want to. So
okay, well, before we move to item 4,
the blank slide, Cassie, please. Can you just leave that on the blank slide first? Thank you.
Before we move to item 4, then just in case we don't have any more discussions related to item number 2, which is the item that we've been on. Mark, I'd like to once again thank you for coming and being available. I know, like I said earlier, this is not in your wheelhouse. Hopefully, sometime in the very near future. Well, I will ask this. I've been told that, May 1st was when you would be running out of money. But then I've also been told that either Mr. Kimmery or Mr. Holman or somebody has indicated that there is a date prior to May the 1st that you guys have to have money or a plan or something before you start putting some wheels in motion on things that you might have to change beyond what you talked about there. Do you know if that is the case, and if it is the case, what that date is?
I do not, but I'll ask him again.
Okay, because I was told March 22nd or in that time era, and I also, you know, in conjunction with appreciate you being there, I appreciate everybody here taking time out of their schedule. This is a busy time for a lot of us, and I appreciate everybody being here and moving your schedules around. I know, you know, we had to move some stuff around for this, and I really appreciate it. But while I really appreciate you being here and doing your level best to help us on this, I think there are questions that are beyond your ability to get into, and I would hope that in the very near future we're able to sit down and have those conversations, because I mean we want to try to, if there's something that we can do, we want to make sure and move as I think in my email to Mr. Kimmery about the questions I mentioned to work as efficiently and expeditiously as possible while still doing it in an educated, precise manner. So we'll have to have those discussions about when we can get back together on that later. But I do appreciate expedient, yeah, efficient.
There's a precise in there though.
I just said precise. The PEE.
So agenda item number 4.
Is there a motion to move to agenda item number 4?
So moved.
Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Okay, we will move along to item number 4.
As the new guy at the table, I may have just a little different perspective, just some fresh eyes maybe on where we are, and hopefully possibly a way to move forward. The numbers that are in the graphs that I presented, they present a monthly financial report to the trust every single.
You have.
She's got them. Yeah.
Do you mind putting it on the screen?
Well, I was going to tell you when to advance, but because sometimes when you talk and it's up there on the screen, people are reading what's on the screen rather than. So just full disclosure, this didn't come from the spreadsheet of the numbers that they provided. This came from the monthly financial reports that they present to the trust every single month, the information here. So go ahead, Cassie, if you would, the next slide. I suspected from a 10,000 foot view that the issue that we have is a spending issue, right? It's not necessarily a revenue issue. It's not necessarily a budgeting issue. It's a spending issue. But I wanted to see if I could make that show up in a real way that was understandable. When you go through their reports, every single month they project the same amount of revenue, 3,237, 137. So when you take that out to their forecast for the year, it's just under $39 million. The next one. Then when you look at actual revenues, looks like a big W. That's because we had the advance in July and we had the advance in February. But if you take that out for a 10-month period, their revenues have averaged right about $3 million a month. And so that's forecasted to be almost 37 million, or that for the year if they stay on current trend. All right, next one, please. Their projected expenses for the year from their reports are relatively flat. Obviously, there was a big jump from July to August. You start the fiscal year, your cost may be a little less at the beginning. I'm not sure how that is. With the exception of November, there was a significant spike that 1 month. But when you take the other 6 months that we've had so far, their expenses have been relatively flat. They're spending about $3.6 million.
Hang on a second. Hey, Mark, are you guys not going to be able to hang around in case there's questions?
No, Kimber just asked us to
Okay.
go back to the meeting to us. Real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a interview with Channel 5 at noon, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, so expenses have been relatively flat. Now, one thing that I would note on their forecast, their monthly projected expenses were about $43 million. Can you jump back 2 slides? Their projected revenue was about $39 million. So we started the year, allegedly, I keep hearing this number, $6 million, 5.8, somewhere in that range. The difference in those numbers is $4.3 million. And so by their own budget numbers, 4.3 seems to be the gap in funding that they should have been anticipating throughout the year.
Instead of the 5.8.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So let's go to slide 4, which is the one that has a bunch of, okay, right there. So when you start to take a look at their actual expenses, month over month, the expenses have risen every single month since the beginning of the year, with the exception February dropped back down to about the December levels. But if you take where they started the year at 3.016 and you compare that to what they spent in January at 4.096, that's a 36% increase in 6 months of what they're
Starting in
spending.
October. When did we establish that the new
October.
director, took over October?
Okay. Okay, next slide, I think, is the one that, oh, okay. So this is their projected expenses versus their actual expenses. They actually spent less money than they projected in the months of July, August, September, and October. November, it basically caught up with forecasts. Then December, January, February, they've spent significantly more money than what they forecasted that they were going to spend. Next slide. So this puts all 4 items on one slide. And I've got copies of all this for you guys. I just hate it when the person talking is talking and everybody's flipping through to see the conclusion. So that puts everything on one slide. The flat line of projected revenue, their actual revenue, which is relatively flat. And then when you take a look at their actual expenses and their projected expenses, I think my Ross Perot charts show that, it's a spending problem that we have over there. Now the final slide. This is where I like I said, I'm the new guy on this board, and so I feel like we've got 2 general camps. One camp, it just seems to feel like doesn't want to spend any more money on the trust. We gave them enough money to fund their annual operation and to meet their duties. And they, as you articulated very well, the answer could be no. And they're the ones that spent themselves into this place. There are others who have not necessarily articulated it out loud, but it feels like want to go ahead and write a check and get this put behind us and go ahead and move forward. And so it feels like just a couple of meetings that I've been here and the ones I've watched online, we keep kind of spinning and rehashing the same thing over and over again. So as a way forward, perhaps we could have a smaller group work with the trust financial staff. Let's identify what the actual financial need is. If you take their numbers that they presented today, it's down to 3.9 million. If you look at the $1.5 million difference in what their budget reports show versus the 5.8 that we're told, it could be as low as $2.5 million. But in the meantime, while we're working on this, I believe that we are where we are, right? I mean, regardless of how we got here, this is where we are. And so if we can go ahead and put something towards the problem, get them past the May 1st, get them off of a March 21st layoff or furlough or whatever it is that they're talking about doing. Put some money up and then move forward for structural reforms. I think Commissioner Davidson did a great job yesterday of beginning that conversation as trustee Davidson. Personally, I'm not, I don't know of a time that, an elected official at Oklahoma County has gone to the budget board and said, hey, we need to move money from this to that, right? We need to move money from M&O to capital, even from salaries to something, which always garners a lot of really tough questions, right? I mean, they're not comfortable conversations. However, it's transparent. It's before everybody. Folks know that that is what's happening. So some of those structural reforms could be put in indenture modification. They could put into bylaws. Bylaws could be adopted.
Well, the transfer between budget from salary to benefits or M&O that you just mentioned, that was not approved at the trust meeting.
That's what I'm saying. And what they said is
Legal takes.
Okay. Okay.
The legislative immunity that the budget board has. The trust members don't.
Right.
They said yesterday, and I haven't researched it yet, they said yesterday that we would be liable.
Right.
Liability liable.
And I would think you'd be liable if they said we need more money for food and you said, no, we're not going to feed the inmates. Then you'd be liable.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty far-fetched, but I'm no lawyer.
Yeah, I'm not either.
So, but I listened to it.
I had
Like you should.
to look at it.
No, I mean, like with her, you should have listened to her yesterday. Yeah, absolutely. So,
I think you're right.
yeah, so I'm just throwing that out there for conversation as perhaps a way forward. Brandy and her boss and my boss and I talked about this last week at some point. I've heard others articulate differently, but sort of the same kind of a way forward. And so I just thought I'd come and bare my soul and throw it out there and take my shots. Good suggestion.
What does the working group get us shy of us still convening as BET and we're all involved and having the trust come?
Probably ambivalent about the mechanics of it. I mean, if this group would prefer it be the one of the things though, I think is that maybe a smaller group may be able to be more committed. I mean, everybody's extremely busy, right? I mean, this is busy legislative session. The court clerks are every year under siege out there. Under siege this year with our cost administration program. We revamped that whole thing 2 years ago. We spent a year locked up in AOC trying to figure out how to go forward. We did. Now they want to revamp it again. But all that I've pushed aside because this is more important. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not married to it being just a small group.
Well, and I think, I'm sure there's others, but I know Brandon has offered to sit down with them, outside of a setting like this and, start it and where we got to. And if there's any, questions or concerns and, we've never been taken up on the offer. So, I mean, I'm always willing to sit down. Anytime any of you guys call me or text me or whatever, I can't think of a time unless you send me an email to my old email address, which I'm still getting information from folks that I'm not returning their emails. And when I have them forwarded to me, it's to that CL Compton email, which I do not get. I never see those. So I'm willing to meet and talk wherever I can to be able to try to come up with common sense solutions.
I would say though that this is a good step forward on the things that they outlined. I would agree that should have happened in August and September, October. But I would also say that at the same time, there is a hammer track that is out there and is probably going to continue to be out there. And my boss has made no secret about his feelings about disbanding the trust. And I think they're beginning to take the issue seriously now. And I think especially if, I don't have a crystal ball, but if that track continues, if there are still people talking about disbanding the trust, I think that may bring people to the table.
I think your graphs are very interesting and very enlightening, because we heard earlier that basically we can't push all this off onto the current director because it was a different administration that started this thing. But when you look at the expenditures and how they've gotten way higher, it's happened after the change from Timmons to Cameron. So that, and I mean, my undergrad was in economics, and so, you know, a lot of statistics classes, and they say there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. So, you know, I know that we can make things point and look, you know, a certain way, but that the way you presented that is pretty eye-opening from the standpoint of when those expenditures started getting not beyond what anybody thinks they should be, but beyond what they projected themselves. And that gets back to what I had mentioned earlier. If it is an expenditure issue, we need to know why it's happened. Are there things that have happened outside of everybody's control that those particular expenses just went up and we can't control that? Or were there choices that were made that maybe shouldn't have been made? In the current environment, knowing what your finances look like. Something that from that, it looked like there was just a doubling down. You know, but not only are we not going to try to reduce,
Almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? This is what we said at the beginning of the year, and by golly, this is what we're gonna spend to get, or we're gonna exceed. Mike, I appreciate the fresh perspective. My concern is beyond this year. My concern lies to next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Tim himself, in BET, said, I'm asking for more next year. And I think it was even followed up with maybe a lot more, something along those lines, right?
10 million.
To be fair, he doesn't get that anymore.
Well, but for 5 years,
Sorry.
Commissioner, for 5 years, the trust has violated state law as it relates to
and it's
Title
not
60, Section
because
176.
it's been mentioned in the past that needed to change by several members around this board to that minute.
And finally, yesterday, because of you, there was a recognition that they violated state law. I don't know what happens to them for violating state law. I know what would potentially happen to an elected official who does that. And I do know that they take the same oaths as our elected officials. So we can fix this problem, I guess. But all we've done is kick it down the road. And my problem is Mike's, based off their financials, they present us with a spreadsheet that shows something different, and then they say something different in the meeting. Who knows what that real number is?
Well, and that was evident yesterday in their meeting.
Yeah, I'm not confident at all with the information that they give us. I don't know how confident they are.
And it's difficult. And I get today, right? Constable Vice was here. But there have been other times, and the financial staff shows up, or they don't show up, and we're new. We've only been here. That is a problem.
When did Kimberly come on board?
In the current role that he's in, or over there, period, because October, it coincided directly with the sharp increase in that little chart. And I mean, back to, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but back to what I said earlier, I don't have an issue with what they do and what they spend and all that. My issue is when they do it in a manner that they know they can't afford it, and they're only going to come back here and ask for that money when we've already budgeted for the fiscal year, because we have to stay within a balanced budget. We looked at all of this. They have other ways to generate revenue. They can go into debt. We cannot. And they have not availed themselves, and they've, to Joe, I think Joe said it earlier, doubled down and just not only continued to spend, but at even a higher level. And it makes it difficult for us to come in and try to pick up those pieces.
The medical situation is just,
Which is where the good information is extremely helpful. Because if there is stuff that has happened that was unforeseen, you couldn't control, and we got to get that money over there, that's one thing. But if it's a behavior issue, then to your point, that's rewarding bad behavior, right? And I'm not saying that it's bad behavior. I don't know. I don't think any of us have enough information, to Brandy's point, to be confident enough to know why we are where we are.
I forgot, Brandon, sorry to put you on the spot. I forgot to ask Mark this question as a check on. When you have somebody that is sitting on a JNS or waiting to go to DOC, and let's say that individual has a heart attack, who's paying for that medical care?
It's ours.
It's us?
Yeah.
Is the state
Or at least it used to
reimbursing?
be. It's still ours. Yeah.
It's still ours.
Yeah.
So there's no mechanism to recoup the cost of
Not unless they're contract.
That would have to be a statute change as well.
But it's the only difference between when the sheriff ran it and today is that it was $27 for them then, now it's 35.
Yeah, I just didn't know if once I hit that adjudicated status, if it kicked over and the state
You
picked
could
it up.
We have a couple of issues in that escaped me. We did have a couple of issues several years ago where they were over the amount of time they were allowed to come get them. And I think we worked out a deal there, but yeah, generally it's still ours.
That's
We've
different.
We've, under Allball, we gave them, what is it, 72-hour notice?
Yeah, he's significantly.
We gave them a 72-hour notice to take it from like a 190 level to a 2-digit level. And that there's statute there that you can pull that trigger. So can the commissioners, by the way.
On transportation costs related to sending people down to DOC, is that a reimbursable expense?
No.
It's just on us.
Yeah, that's all part of the plan.
All right, well, that answers that question.
Now, we are working on, with Preston Stinson, getting a contract reimbursement with the state for a bunch of the mental health stuff, which would be sizable to us. It'd be several $1 million. I don't know, that's working through the legislative process. It doesn't fix today, but you're worried about tomorrow.
I am worried about tomorrow.
We're doing things to make that work.
So I think it's presenting information today. I'm not sure I do want to be premature to think about any action today, but just wanted to kind of throw it out there for discussion.
I think it's a great idea. I think a rapid response team or rapid react, whatever, take 3 of you, go down there and sit with them and, yeah.
Well, would that be at the directive of the trust to make sure that happened?
I mean,
I think it was correct. Anybody's part of the budget.
from the standpoint of, I think you're going to have the same members from the trust organization involved, whether we keep it the way we've been doing it, which is having the discussions in here versus going over there, right? And they're a few blocks away, so it's not like, they're having to travel across the state. So to me, I think that, it's a matter of, do we have the time around this table for all of us to get together to have these conversations? And we need to move faster, so we just, get a few people that have maybe a little bit more time that can get over there. Or if everybody around the table has the time, then we can sit down and have the conversations in here. To Christy's point earlier, I think we've all been pretty available to meet.
Estimates need to do Friday. We better hurry.
What's right? What'd you say?
So estimates need to do Fridays. We better hurry.
They did request an extension on that.
Those are gonna be.
There's really nothing to stop an informal group from doing the same. I've joked that it feels like working in Congress right before a budget shutdown, right? That we've got this issue that's just hanging over us. And it feels like we're in a pressure cooker. And
Well, I do think, if anybody has different questions and stuff, but I think identifying the actual financial need, those questions that I sent over there, I think if they get the answers back on those, I think that might go at least a short distance, if not a significant amount of the way, to identify some of that.
right. Then the other thing, not to, just like I did the other day, I can argue with you. To Mr. Davidson's point, are they going to be here? Are they going to show up over here? How many times, Mr. Morrison, did your boss put an item on the budget board agenda asking for an update from the jail? Hearing for 2 years is what it felt like. I haven't gone back and counted.
Well,
I
and
think we're in a point though now. I see the situation today. I knew that Vice was coming. I didn't know who was needing to meet with her, but I do know now. I think it's in their best interest to show up, and we can work together on the schedule. We can. With them, I feel better. Personally, I feel better if we keep it in BET and have them come here. If I go over and I'm part of a working group, I still have to come back and report here. I feel like we work well together. I think we'll get through it. I always think of questions when we're all together more. I like being on the record right now with this and lawsuits and just anything that could happen or whatever. And I think we're down the right path. Today slowed us down because they didn't arrive, because I think we would have got a lot more answers of questions from all of us watching the meeting. Where are we really? Are we at 4.3? And a good question is all the savings. Paul, you had the question. Is that off of the 5.8? Is that now, off of the 5.3? And then the questions that Cody have. I'd rather march on as we're going instead of trying to do another working group. And I think I just feel like the more of us that are together on this issue, it's a big one. And I feel better if all offices are represented.
So would we authorize the chairman to reach out and try to get or the clerk to reach out and try to get some dates?
well, the problem is, though, when you guys recessed, Mr. Holman was here, and he sent me a text on Friday. Let me pull it up here. on Friday, and I'm just gonna read it word for word. I mean, it says Cody reset a meeting with, I wasn't here, so I didn't reset it, but reset a meeting with BET to be Tuesday, the 10th at 10 a.m., which it was at 11, and he was in here when it was discussed, I think. Is that correct? We have a conflict with the congressman at 10, but can make 11 a.m. work. Could we please make that change? Thank you in advance. And I communicated with him last night that the meeting is actually at 11 o'clock.
We just got confused.
Yeah,
We got both turned.
but the meeting that was already established, when he had texted on Friday, he said that he would be available at 11. Knew it on Friday at 11. And their staff, and I get that their finance team is busy working on stuff, but the email that I saw about an extension on them getting their estimate of needs referenced the enormous amount of time that they've had to spend going to nearly weekly BET meetings on this. And it's like, they've not been here weekly. We may have had meetings, but they're not showing up every single time. And we are trying to do what we can to help them through an issue. And so, I mean, they of course have to put, their work into it for us to help get there. And this notion that we're trying to, belabor an issue and make them jump through all kinds of hoops and all of this, when they're the ones that got to where they are, and we're trying to help, and then we schedule meetings, and they know when the meetings are going to be, and then I so appreciate Mark coming over here, but he's not the one that can answer any of these questions.
Well, and the things that we're asking for should be the exact things that they are already working on.
Right.
I mean, we're not asking for anything outside of the scope of what they shouldn't already be dug into as it is.
Yeah. Several months ago, Mr. Kimmery sent me an email and asked me what questions do I need to be prepared for. And my response was, well, all I can do is tell you the questions that I would anticipate asking, but I can't tell you, number one, what my follow-up questions would be based upon your answers that you have in here. So me just telling you my questions and then having follow-up may seem disingenuous that I'm, so I don't know all of my questions, and I can't speak for everybody else around the table as to what their questions are. I said, my recommendation is that you or your staff have an understanding of your finances, both from a macro and micro standpoint, so that you can speak to your budget. And if you have any questions about, the stuff that's been discussed in the past, watch the previous BET meetings, because they're all on YouTube. But I don't know that there is that understanding of the finances. That's why when we get up here and we ask questions, it's constantly, well, I have to get back to you. I get it with Mark. That's not what he does, but it's always, well, I don't have that information, and then it gets heated, and it just turns into what happened yesterday between.
A few times that the finance people have been here, it's been the same answer.
Well, maybe that's perhaps why a smaller, more focused group might be more productive. I mean, we've tried it this way, and I definitely agree with you and the points that you made, it being on record, us being a group, I agree. But we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Perhaps a smaller, more focused group would be more effective.
I'm with Christy. It needs to stay in here. And I can tell you, Cody now works for the sheriff. That when he worked with us at District 1, you can go back several trust chairs where Cody made himself available. We made him available to go over and discuss their budget and the budgeting process and perhaps ways they could help themselves financially. And there might be one or two meetings and it falls off. We are bending over backwards to solve a problem that is not of our making. Again, if I know I'm only going to have $40 and I decide to go out and spend $50, it's not on Cody to give me the 10 to get me out of the hole.
And some of those discussions going back 5 years whenever I go over there were exactly what Miles had on the agenda yesterday about adopting your own budget, you guys developing your own estimate of needs. On here, your bylaws, I've been screaming about that for 6 years now, that there's no bylaws. I mean, those are all things that have been discussed and have been suggested. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, I mean, it's better late than never, but it's like going over it and doing that stuff. It's like, been there, done that. And it's never gotten anywhere. You know, we've had these suggestions, and that's where a lot of the frustration comes, is when the time has been poured in from this group, not just from me individually or Joe or Christy or anybody around the table, but us as a group. We've poured into this, and then it's just like none of the suggestions or anything are ever taken. They're not demands, they're not requirements, they're suggestions. And then we make the suggestion because we're like, we don't want to see X, Y, or Z happen, and then it's not taken, and guess what happens? X, Y, or Z. Yeah, and it just gets frustrating.
Mike, what's your recommendation to the budget board?
Well, I mean, you guys have got all this long history, right, with this, and so it's really hard. It would be really hard just to throw out. I mean, to me, you're looking at some. This is me. Don't throw anything at me, but $1 million to $1.5 million, somewhere in that range. But that's just me.
I
That's
don't
just
disagree
me.
with that. I don't disagree.
That's just me spitballing.
Mhm.
So, but I know there's a lot of people that are just like, no, we're not to that point. And I do.
Well,
I mean,
they're to the point to where they're going to be laying off employees. I think we're to that point.
They have I'm not over there. They should have other things that they should be able to cut before they lay off employees.
Have they talked about other?
Well, no, because laying off employees and not feeding people makes headlines.
it's like during the old government shutdowns, they shut down first, the parks and the tours to the Capitol. You know, the things that people feel and see.
Carrie, are we able to, the raises that were given in February, it's a sensitive subject. Are we able to verify their numbers? What they say they've given in raises? I was told it's 92 people.
That's what.
And
Yes.
it was the 5-month cost of the increase of February through June is $204,644.04. And I think that's without benefits.
Mhm.
It would,
Payroll
yeah,
change
I would love
for
to
every
start,
month.
right. We
I
have
would love
the
to start
payroll
verifying that.
change
You need to review the payroll change sheet at
Yeah.
the beginning of the year, because
There's a lot more than that.
there's
Yeah.
a lot more than that. And right,
We were told a few.
some of us
Isn't
work
that
for
the
the
term?
state who never got a raise.
I've used more than
Right.
And the only way you can get a
I
raise
was
is maybe
told
if you got a promotion, and that I think has occurred. Some are listed as promotions.
Well,
So those raises, but all of that has exacerbated this.
it has. But this is a number in writing from Kimry that I would love to validate it. So you're looking at $40,928.81 a month. That's before benefits. But with all the dialogue that happened over the raises in the trust, it didn't seem as though it was approved by the trust, and the trust took the vote to freeze raises. But yet they approved payroll the way it was, and they approved March payroll.
I'm suspecting they did.
We got
They
this
didn't.
dating all the way back to August.
You suspect that, Joe?
Couldn't be. I haven't seen the payroll change sheets, but.
The change form.
Question whether any of the stuff that we got.
Oh, this is that big sheet, yeah. That's right. This is one they handed out, isn't it?
But I will say this to your question. I wouldn't recommend making a recommendation to the budget board without a commitment from the trust on that we're going to have a discussion about reforms. I mean, I couldn't without that, I think they have to go together. I know, I just think they have to go together. I think they have to happen simultaneously. And I think that by taking a step, offering to take a step, if they commit, that puts us in a better spot. Because otherwise, we go 10 months next year without them coming over to meetings, and then we end up in a crisis at the end of next year, and it's the same thing.
Well, but no, it's not the same thing, because then it's gonna be that, because I guarantee you, whether it's $1 million, $1.5 million, 2 million, 3 million, if we give that now as a supplement through, like, I mean, we had to use one-time funds if we went over, $1.5 million-ish. Then all of a sudden, it's gonna be they cut our budget, right? I mean, that'll be the narrative if we don't give the full request and include the additional that's given here towards the end of the year. The argument will be that we cut their budget, and we tried to make that clear with OSU extension several years ago. Remember when Jason was like, "Hey, we'll do this one time, but it's not going to happen the next year. You put us in a bad situation." OSU at the time, this is what he was saying, that them making a decision to give raises at the OSU level put us in a bad predicament, and we didn't want to, their employees suffer from that. So we'll go ahead and do this one time, but it wasn't going to be in the budget for the next year, and don't expect it. And you're going to have to figure out a way to take care of that moving forward. And this group was pretty clear when we approved that increase at that time that it was only a one time. It wasn't, don't include this as part of your current year budget, if you will. So that I think that can be, fairly difficult to navigate there. But if we do help out with the supplement, I don't want that narrative that if we can't help out with that supplement the next year, that we cut our budget.
And we can pull the PO change forms for each pay period. Show.
I'd sure love to have a copy of those.
But once again, when we hear there's a couple raises, and then it's 90 some odd, 92, and it's like every time we're told something and we dig a little bit deeper, it's a little less accurate, and then we dig a little more deeper and it's even more inaccurate, and then even more inaccurate. And it's like every time we peel this onion back, it's
Well, and yesterday they were saying over 100.
Well, when I glanced at the sheet, that was the count. I mean,
Right.
I think I said approximately 100 in
Yeah.
DET. I also recognize that some of them were promotions and some of them were demotions. But the fact is, it doesn't change that the trust voted to not give raises. And lo and behold, they gave raises. And it wasn't a couple. And like I said yesterday, I'm from Oklahoma. A couple could be 2, 3, 4, 5, but it isn't what it turned out to be. Like I say Coke, but I get a Dr. Pepper. Right.
You sure you didn't say
tomato, potato.
So I guess where I'm at with the raises then is, the trust had that whole discussion, but yet approved raises when they took a vote not to. If you guys want a good faith number, I could work this into a number with logic, not just out of the air that's around one, maybe around 1.5. Because I'm sitting at a number with some logic behind it of 2,059,000 and change. And my only question left was how the raises were going to factor in. And if I'm hearing they're at 4.3, we've at least coming halfway. They've obviously made some, if they're really truly at a 4.3 and they're doing all this stuff, all of a sudden that should have been done, I get it. But maybe it's time for us to take a step. Now, anything beyond this, the number I have, I'm not sure we're comfortable with it in the treasurer's office.
So that number that you've come up with, where?
Well,
I mean, where would you want those funds to come from?
Well, I've just come up with a number, but
Okay.
I mean, I have an idea. I do have an idea. So, the money would be from Jewel. The amount in Jewel, the Jewel interest, and then there's one more month of Jewel. We can supplant some capital projects. That's about $266,914. No, Jewel is the Jewel with Jewel funds and interest, $328,494.31.
Which will be voted on tomorrow.
We may not have the other small month of interest there.
Maybe
We can
not,
pick it
but
up.
that
I
was,
mean,
small.
So I got down to 2 million. I started, let me start over. I started, and I'm sorry I didn't put this on a spreadsheet. I was working on it till the very last minute. So, I started with 2,654,713 is where I started. Minus the Jewel money of 328,494.31. Minus out of one-time monies, 266,914.
For the capital supplanting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're down to 2,059,304.69. So where I stopped there was on this raised business. Sure. $2,059,304.69. So where I got to was then the whole raise issue. If we just don't fund the raises, I mean, that's on them now to figure it out. And to take that off. And then I would dip into the first part of it in our our ongoing.
Which is
$1
still
million off of
1.6.
$1 million off of it, and then see where we are there.
Okay, but wait, are you saying we're gonna give them the 328 plus the 266, and that's how we get down to 2 million, and then we're gonna give them 1.5 of the 2 million?
Yeah,
So really, you're talking about giving them over $2 million?
Well, but it's
As
for
a good
justification
okay,
process.
so I can walk you how I got to the 2.6. So I was saying we give them 2,654,713. Then I was like, where does it come from?
Mhm.
It comes from the Jewel. It comes from the
328
surplus.
Jewel. Capital
328.
supplanting.
And then I get down to the 2,059,304.69. I personally would like to take an amount off for raises
Mm-hmm.
and bring it down lower. From
Mhm.
there, I'd like to take $1 million, or I would suggest, I suggest $1 million out of ongoing and see what that bottom number is. And then I would do a pass and half for the little amount.
So, okay,
I'm trying to
so,
avoid the one-time money
right,
because we will be in a problem.
right. And so when you talk about, say, perhaps $1 million out of ongoing, would that automatically assume that we are going to add $1 million to their budget for next year?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't.
But it's actually,
I mean,
but we're giving them.
But I mean, we're doing it out of ongoing. So wouldn't that be the thought? If we're going to do it out of ongoing, then we are going to sustain it go forward.
I had thought about that more.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was making no commitments to next year.
I mean, otherwise we could just take it all out of one time, right? I mean, wouldn't that be the intention of taking it out of ongoing? To create the sustainability factor?
Yeah, but I didn't want to commit to it.
I know.
This was literally at my desk today.
Well, I mean, it's baby steps, but I mean, these are the types of conversations we now need to be having.
And I haven't even talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that really fast.
I was going to say, I can't imagine that without some real progress on reform and real commitment on reform that my boss is going to be for giving money.
Well, and even like the overtime, even though they've cut not funding it going forward and they're gonna move it to comp time, but they're gonna have to pay out the comp time if they're still accruing the comp time at the rate that they're accruing overtime hours, that comp time's still gonna end up being paid. And we're still gonna be on the hook for that.
180 days if it's not.
180, yeah. If they haven't used it. So if they can't use it because they're short, they're still banking that time and a half.
leads us to the next
At
budget shutdown crisis that we
at
can't
the
carry
higher
months down the road.
hourly rate because of the raises.
Could we at least start with the first two pieces of what Christy was talking about? I mean, the BOCC is gonna vote on the Jewel tomorrow per recommendation of the budget board. You know, the 266, 914 in capital supplanting, that is a tangible number. I mean, we can look at the capital, we can see exactly what on there, you know, that is a tangible plan that we can utilize one-time funds for.
What
So why
projects
can't,
are
Start
those?
there.
can we
What
start there?
projects are those?
It was 2 vans and it was computer equipment.
So is this capital
Actually,
they already have?
They've already paid. We're like supplanting. So we're taking
One-time
one-time
funds.
funds and basically paying for those items.
Explain to me.
They've spent it, we're reimbursing it. But then we're giving it.
Okay, so then it would
It's
come
like
from
if,
where?
it's like if they didn't fund it first and we bought it. Oh, it would come from our reserve, our one-time. funds.
One-time funds and general fund reserve.
I think that's a good.
Which
place.
is about 1.7.
The ongoing is
Ongoing is like
1.6.
8 million. So.
Oh, I'm with you. Now,
Yeah.
I'm good.
I know I have a watch list.
That's the new rounding area. Or a formula. The
Oh, those were the
previous
days.
administration is the new term.
One-time funds, 8.1 million. Which can dry basically.
Well, in efforts to get off high center here, I would be willing to make a motion or second a motion related to the $266,000, 914, provided to the detention center for their capital expenditures using one-time fund reserve funds.
That sounds like a motion, I'll second.
Okay.
So, just to make sure I understand, so so the 308 for the Jewel is already gonna be a recommendation from BOCC.
They will budget, yes, they will vote on that tomorrow per budget board recommendation.
Okay, so if BOCC votes to approve that, then we transfer it to BOT. So now then we're going to recommend
Jewel would actually have to PO.
266.
Jewel, it's a fund, it's a budget fund, it'll have to do a PO and cut a check. And just, we could place it on the central
Appropriate.
receipt for the jail.
So the jewel money and then what was the other amount?
$266,914, and that's related specifically to capital.
What are we paying for?
You're paying for the 2 vans, 178,414.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for computer equipment, 75,000. And then they have another line, motor vehicle passenger, 13,000.
I mean, essentially, they're one-time expenditures that they've already expended.
So the 200 and, I'm just rounding, the 267,000 would come from general fund reserve ongoing.
One time.
Okay,
Why would we pull those from the one time instead of the ongoing?
Because those are,
Expenses.
those were capital expenditures that were one-time expenditures.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
I was gonna say you really long.
yeah.
It was one time.
Yeah. I need about 9 more ounces. Yes, we want this to come out of the ongoing, the bigger, the 8 million in ongoing. I'm sorry, in the one time, the 8 million in the one
Yes.
time.
One time,
Yeah,
one time.
because these are one-time expenses, and then the 1.6 million in ongoing would still be sitting there.
Correct.
This is setting a horrible precedent. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna spend beyond what I knew I had at the beginning of the year, and I'm gonna come hat in hand and expect somebody else to bail me out, whether it's one-time expenditures or not. This is a horrible precedent. They can't even answer our basic questions. It's just ridiculous. If this was a sheriff that was running this operation this way, where would we be?
Ask Cleveland County.
Joe?
Well, he still got reelected.
Joe,
After his stuff.
Yes, he did.
what did we wind up doing?
Him the $3 million.
I think the sheriff resigned.
What did we pay? Right?
We paid, but the distinction is they're a separate legal entity who hasn't for 5 years since their inception followed the law. And the question is, if this type of debt is the responsibility of the Board of County Commissioners or Oklahoma County, they haven't come and the beneficiary hasn't signed off on it, one. Two, if that is not in play, then this debt doesn't matter because they can exceed the FY limitations. It's a really, really.
There will be a point they cannot, though. When they go to encumber and there's not appropriations, when they go to register a check in our office and they don't have money in their bank account, it stops.
What do they have to encumber?
Well, it's two things. The clerk checks encumbrances and then cash in the bank.
I don't know, they don't have to have some contract. We do, or they don't have to.
No.
I mean, they don't.
But they have to encumber when they spend them. Do they not encumber?
No,
We do their AP stuff.
I mean, maybe they are, but
They're on Munis. Carrie, are they on Munis? The jail trust and they encumber? Do you guys load their appropriations every month?
No, because it's done by invoice.
Pay
Invoice.
invoice.
Well, now we get
Well,
the,
there's special revenue.
the claims, we pay the claims, but they're not, but it's not.
When you
Completely
monthly
like ours.
special revenue, do you increase their appropriations? How do they? They spend out of Munis. They've got to have a budget and they have to have encumbrance.
Yeah, because we pay the claims each month based on what they've submitted in invoices.
yeah, I think it's previous encumbered.
But they invoice for the 112. So
Sure,
probably-
cover the contracts.
Right. I mean,
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, so I think we're just probably loaded the 112.
kind of to Joe's point, I mean, I think that we need to figure out where we are, and I don't think any of us know where we're at. Well, I don't.
That's what I was gonna say, with this additional action on Jewel money, is that we feel we have to do right now. You talked about maybe not talking here. This is something that I have.
Oh, the jewel I have. I mean, that was.
Yes,
we
I
had
mean, but this
budget, he was on budget board when they did.
I'm talking about this additional.
The additional.
Yeah, I haven't.
That's something that I've not had a chance to do for my recommendation. So I don't know that I would support that at this point. Not that we wouldn't, it's just.
When do
Let
we
me-
need to, I mean, do we need to recess so that we can talk to our elected officials? So we can make a recommendation to budget board on like the 266?
I mean, I think we definitely need to either recess or call another meeting soon. And then whenever we do that, see if they'll come back.
You have that list of phrases.
Oh, yes.
Well, let's do something here. It's almost 1:00 and we've got to be back at 2. There is a motion.
I need to find mine. I know I have that. I may have used, if I don't find it, I may have it. Just email it to me. But we have a motion in a second. We can just take a quick vote and and figure out what we'll do this first meeting.
Okay, so the motion and the second, is everybody clear on what it is? Okay,
Safe to assume you probably should roll call.
okay, we've got a request for a roll call vote. District 2,
Aye.
clerk,
No.
District 3,
No, we need to meet again.
District 1,
No.
treasurer.
Aye.
Court clerk,
No, without reform.
assessor,
No.
sheriff.
No.
Noes have it.
Okay, so when are we gonna meet again?
I will move everything on my schedule other than next Friday, the 20th.
When's budget board, the
I'm
19th?
redoing my surgery once, I can't move it a second time. So, but other than that, I will move on my schedule.
Thursday. When do you want?
Except for, just,
I can't Thursday.
You can, tomorrow afternoon?
I can't tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow morning?
We've got UCC and then we also have.
Is that so? I'm sorry.
Meet right after, everybody meet right after BOCC?
Let's do Friday.
Or Friday?
what about Paul's Wednesday right after BOCC? Did that conflict with anybody?
Will that give everybody enough time?
More importantly, will the trust and their staff show up?
Yeah, if they're not gonna be here, there's,
I mean, we're bending over backwards and we can't get people to show up to our meetings. I mean, let me remind you guys, right, the other morning, the finance staff wasn't here for a 9 o'clock meeting because they don't start to work till 9 o'clock. Generally in an office environment, or at least where I've worked, if you've got an important meeting and it's prior to or at the start of your time to report to work, you show up.
We didn't warn it, got here about 10:30, but people we can do without.
what if we asked them, kind of gave them a bigger window?
Oh, those we have to recess to a time known, right?
Anytime.
Well, yeah. What is,
If you can't do it Wednesday or Thursday,
Next Monday?
if we're gonna have to call a special, we can reach out to them. And see, are you available Friday, or are you available Monday?
We can get in here, unless you need UCC on Monday, we can get in here probably at about 10:30.
That's good for me.
On Monday, the 16th?
Let me just prepare one of the things.
Oh, good. Well, we'll see lunch again.
It's spring break.
Oh, yeah.
Getting a little hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wide open Monday. You take your time.
I think. Really?
well then, what about Monday at 1:30? That way you have lunch.
We all have lunch, because it's not just about me.
When I'm hangry, it is.
So I won't be here at all
So it's.
the next week. It's
Okay.
spring break and
Well, what about this Friday?
I think
Are you out Friday?
depends on the time.
What time? What time could you?
8 a.m. And I'll delay leaving.
Can't do it. I can't do 8 on.
8:30 at the latest. Not be available for 2.5 hours. Big then.
We are
I think-
short-handed on Friday.
From a personal standpoint, I think it's important. you've spent a lot of time, as everybody here has. And I think it's important if we can accommodate and figure out what everybody's here.
I'm sorry.
No, not really, yeah.
What was the Thursday? What was our Thursday?
Reconvene P&G.
I'm good for Thursday, but somebody wasn't.
There's quite a
Not
few.
Thursday morning.
What about Thursday afternoon?
I'll make it work.
I can
I can
make
make
Thursday afternoon work.
This Thursday.
Yes,
Okay.
12.
No. We can't do the 12.
You what?
Can't do 12.
He
No,
said
Afternoon,
Yeah, he said,
2 o'clock, 2:30.
Yeah. Anytime in the afternoon.
You could do 2:30?
Yeah, let's do 2:30.
Okay.
2:30 Thursday.
Yes.
I make that motion.
So we got a motion to.
Hold on.
Patsy has it confirmed.
Make sure we get this.
we don't mind meeting.
And that gives them a day and a half to.
And if they're not gonna be here, we're gonna get together and.
Well, but technically, it doesn't give them a reason to
Well,
have,
I
it gives them more than that,
want to
because they knew last week that we were meeting today
Yeah,
at 11. So,
But it gives us time to electives
That wouldn't be good.
with the motion.
The unseconded
Okay.
motion.
Oh, it was seconded.
Okay. 30 on Thursday.
But it was based on your suggestion. Thanks for the support.
Yes.
2:30 on Thursday the 12th.
You confirmed it.
look at you, learning from others.
There's an important piece of my suggestion that was not.
I make a motion to recess until 1:30 on Thursday, the 12th.
1:30,
2:30.
Second.
So we've got a
2:30.
motion and a second to recess this meeting until 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on April the 12th, which is this Thursday, in the BOE room. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We are in recess.
Who's reaching out to the council?
I can't